Hi, welcome to our show. My name is Tyler Griffin. I'm the chairman of the York County Republican Party.
And my name is Bianca. I'm president of the Winthrop College
And
Republicans.
today we're happy to have with us Congressman Ralph Norman. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure.
So we have a couple of questions for you. So what is your first priority on a national level as congressman?
Well, when I announced and ran for this office, Bianca, my goals were to get the national debt off our grandchildren and children, to put the country on a firm financial footing, and term limits, get people out of office. Career politicians are one of the main problems that I see, and strengthen our military. And since I've been in there all of 5 weeks, it's been like a whirlwind. I got sworn in on the 27th of June and started voting that night. So it's been a interesting time. It's been a deadlock on a lot of the big issues, health care, the budget we hadn't taken up yet, and which we will be doing when we get back in September. But those are still the main issues. I do not want this country to be the next Greece. I think we've got to cut out crony capitalism. I think we've got to, just as the American families balance their budget, the country's got to balance our budgets. And to that end, I'm working.
Well, anyone who watches the news knows that September is going to be a busy month for y'all.
Yeah.
You'll probably be drinking a lot of coffee and having a lot of late hours. So what can we expect in September in terms of with health care, tax reform, and the debt ceiling?
Well, I think in my mind, hopefully if we can address health care, I think that's, if you talk to any American all over this country, health care is a major concern. Most counties around this country have one provider. South Carolina basically has one provider. If you had one gas station to shop at, guess what your prices would be? If you had one supermarket to shop at, guess what your prices would be? Americans are facing that right now. Had a lady call me who's single mom, paying $600 a month, $10,000 deductible, going to $1,300 a month, and the $10,000 deductible. She can't afford to get sick. But my goal is hopefully to pass some kind of healthcare reform, and to stop the monopoly, because that's what we've got in this state, and that's what's wrong. Hopefully we'll take that up. You really can't have tax reform unless you get health care, because it's such a big part of the budget. But if that's impossible, and I was very disappointed in the Senate when it took the vice president to cast the deciding vote just to discuss the health care, just to bring it up on the floor. That's sad. But hopefully we're going to come together, and the Republicans are going to act like Republicans and vote on basic health care, as in letting us pick our own plans, as in increasing our HSA accounts, and giving us more providers. If I want to go to Texas and get my health insurance, I should be able to do that. Now, whether we'll agree on all that, but take the first step. Tax reform, I think we're going to have a reduction in the corporate tax to either from 34% to 15 or 18%. I will tell you this: we don't have a income problem in this country. We have a spending problem. Yeah. Politicians have trouble saying no. All of us, with our individual budgets, say no every day. We don't let it stay the same. And in Washington, D.C., that's not the case. So we're good at cutting. We're not good at cutting spending. We're good at cutting the rates, but not spending.
So you did mention a little bit earlier about term limits. So how do you plan on implementing term limits on career politicians?
I've signed on to a bill that's already, we've got a lot of bills in Congress that already address that. I've signed on to a bill that limits House members to 3 terms, 6 years, Senate to 2 terms. I think that makes sense. There's no magic in serving, and I think fresh blood is good. I think particularly with the cost of running a campaign today, we ought to get them in and get them out. Now, it needs to have hearings, and it needs to be, Congress needs to vote on it, and hopefully we'll do that.
One group that Mick Mulvaney was a part of that you're also a part of is the Freedom Caucus. So what is it like being a part of that group and getting to work with so many like-minded conservatives in Congress?
I flew out to Nashville this past week, met with the Freedom Caucus. That's one of the best things I've done since I've been up there. It caused me a lot of angst with the Chamber of Commerce because they took off after me, against me, because the Freedom Caucus was a concern of theirs. They're business people. They want to run the country like businesses do, and they're 30 members. I think we'll be growing the number. But no, they're a great group. They are true conservatives. We're all going to have a issue with just raising the debt ceiling. I promised not to kick the can down the road, nor should we. So we'll use our leverage to affect good legislation and to really say no to this increased spending.
I think it's great that a group like the Freedom Caucus exists to finally, push these issues. There's a lot of times, like you said, things get kicked down the road. So we're really thankful for you standing up for, future generations going forward.
Well, the media is not going to tell you that. The media is going to say they're right-wing extremists. They're, want perfection. No, we just want things that make sense. We're not going to vote for something that's in word. It sounds good, but the effect of it is not good, and we're not going to go along with that.
So there's a lot of changes that do need to be made that you want to make. So how do you feel the Trump administration is going so far with all of that?
The Trump administration, although he never gets credit for it, he's doing a good job. We all know about the conservative Supreme Court Justice, Neil Gorsuch, that he put up. You can't change Supreme Court justices every year. They're for life. The executive orders, bringing religion back into the forefront of politics. A lot of churches were scared to speak up, a lot of pastors, because they would lose their tax-exempt status. He had signed an executive order doing away with that. Regulations, he signed an executive order, which for every new regulation he cuts two. He's done so much by executive order that you never hear about. The press has not complimented him on one thing, and he's done great things. He's got 37 federal judges to nominate. The Senate's only passed, I think, 6. We've got 270 bills that we passed out of the House, good bills, that we came together on. They're stuck in the Senate. But as far as President Trump, the military is excited with what he's doing. The police are excited with what he's doing. His speeches, to me, are great. And I think he needs our support. I'm going to back him. Is he perfect? No, none of us are. But he's doing the right things for the country.
You mentioned the military being excited, and I have many friends in the military that are excited to have Secretary Mattis in charge of the Defense Department. Based on your voting record, you're very strong in having a very strong military. So why do you feel like that's important for our nation?
A couple of reasons. For the last 8 years, the military has been on the back burner. The fleet, whether it's Army, Navy, Marines, Coast Guard, has suffered. The Obama administration did not value the military, in my opinion. Donald Trump does. When he was running for president, one of the things he committed to was a strong military. The way you keep this country free and out of war is strong military, and I can tell you he's doing that. He's put up a bill, I think it's $1 billion, to reemploy vets who are unemployed. I know all over the district, I've had one of the number one complaints are veterans who, whether they're not getting good health care, the benefits aren't being processed in time, and we're meeting with all over the district. This past month, I've met with veterans all over the 5th District, and I've got a person in Colonel O'Neill who is handling that, who's a retired colonel. He understands veterans issues, and it's a great feeling to have the executive branch putting a priority on this country. Vets are the most underpaid and forgotten members of our society, in my opinion, yet when they had to put their life on the line, they did it.
So we're going to go into a little more personal kind of questions. So what is the most interesting thing that's happened to you in D.C. so far?
Most interesting thing that's happened to me, I guess the pace. You have, whether it's lobbyists or whether it's groups that come to you that want something out of Washington. That's not a bad thing, but it's because I've got the ability to say no. you have a lot of a lot of people with just needs, whether it's a passport, a visa, an issue with a government agency. And I've enjoyed doing that. We've got right at 16 people hired. I've got people, specialists that understand and are solving, hopefully solving the problems. But I guess the pace, it's nonstop when you're in Washington, D.C. You go from meeting to voting. A lot of times, and particularly coming up in September, we'll be in the voting chambers till midnight. And I wish we could have worked through August to solve this healthcare crisis, to solve the budget crisis that we have, and the military issues. I wish we could have worked, but for the next, from September on through Christmas, it'll be busy.
Well, I remember seeing on Facebook the sign that you had put on your door that I really liked. It was this office belongs to the people of District 5. I thought that was really nice, and it's really refreshing to see something like that.
Well, that's what I believe. It's not my office. I represent the people were. It was such an honor to be elected to this office. It's their office, and we go to work. Just like, you build a successful business one customer at a time. You're successful in politics when you treat the people like you want to be treated, and you take their problems seriously. And we do that. I'm not up there for any other reason other than to get this country back on a firm footing, to make freedom truly what it is and what this country was built on. The Constitution we have got to get back to, and I'm gonna vote that way. And it's I don't wake up any morning and I sleep in my office. Washington is very expensive, as Mick did, but it's not a morning I don't wake up and say I'm just privileged and it's special to be there.
Just to wrap up, a lot of our members, we're college students. And a lot of people seem already overwhelmed. That's like the first week of college, and they're going back and they're getting handed all these syllabuses saying that in 3 weeks you've got a 20-page essay due and all this stuff. So being a college graduate yourself, what advice would you have for college students for this semester?
To do just what you're doing. Stay involved. When y'all are up on issues. I know the debate that we had and we were all running, hold us accountable. Have us back. And I tell everybody, your voices are heard. I've been on the private side, I've been on the public side. I know what politicians, when they get behind closed doors, it's effective when you call them in and say, why did you vote this particular way? It's effective when you say, is this a concern of yours and how are you going to vote? And everywhere I go, I say there's no question off limits. Ask me anything, because I'm here to do a job. I'm here to serve. And if it's there's no sensitive issue to me. So stay involved. Take the time to write that representative a personal note. Nobody's doing that now. Everybody's sending emails. But with college students particularly, it means something to get a note because nobody else is doing it. A stamp costs, what, less than 50 cents, 47 cents. Send a stamp and do an email too. But the note is something I get very few of, but I actually read them. And I read my emails, but I get all of us get thousands of emails every day. So take the time to do both. Let us know how you feel. That tells us that we have people looking over our shoulders, and rightfully so, and express your opinion.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I know college students should be thankful for what you're doing to reduce the debt and make an economy where after they graduate they can actually join the workforce. That's been a big disparity for the last few years. But thank you so much for joining us today.
My privilege. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bianca.